What is up, you guys? And yes, we are back. It's time for another video. This is episode 2 of our time traveling um, information, I guess, our time traveling videos. So today we're talking about another man who's time traveled, or claimed to have time traveled, and that man is the time traveler named John Titor. So, John Titor, we don't know if that's the actual name or not, but John Titor is a name used on several bulletin boards during 2000 and 2001 by a poster claiming to be an American military time traveler from 2036. So that is 18 years from now. Titor made numerous vague and specific predictions regarding events in 2004 and beyond, attracting worldwide attention during the ensuing decade. His descriptions of the aftermath of a nuclear war, including the devastation of numerous countries around the world, a breakup of the United States into 5 smaller sovereignties, and general destruction of the global environment and infrastructure, inspired fiction and music, and triggered investigations by journalists and others. There's not too much known about John Titor, and we're not sure if there's an actual person, but what we know for sure is that his occupation is an alleged time traveler and military soldier. And he has made some predictions such as World War III happening in 2015, which it didn't happen, but he also said that he, because he traveled back in time, that it could change events. So, who knows? Obviously didn't happen in 2015. He's no longer here though, because in 2001 he decided that he was going back to his time period of 2036. So he left. He left 17 years ago. So, subsequent closer examination of Titor's assertions provoked widespread skepticism. Inconsistencies in his explanations, the uniform inaccuracy of his predictions, and a private investigator's findings all led to the general impression that the entire episode was an elaborate hoax. There's no entire 100% answer to this entire thing, so who knows. A 2009 investigation concluded that Titor was likely the creation of Larry Haber, a Florida entertainment lawyer, along with his brother John, a computer scientist. Let's look at some of Titor's posts. So I'm going to be reading to you some of his posts that I have gathered. The first post using John Titor's military symbol appeared on the Time Travel Institute forums on November 2nd, 2000, under the name Time Travel _0. At that time, the name John Titor was not being used. The post discussed time traveled in general, the first one being the 6 parts description of what a time machine would need to have to work. See below. I might be able to pull up a picture. Hold up. In responses to questions about how such a machine would work. Early messages tended to be short. A second thread was also made due to shortcomings in the forum software at the time. The name John Titor was not introduced until January 2001, when Time Travel _0 began posting at the Art Bell BBS forums, which required a name for every account. The Titor post ended in late March 2001. As I told you, that's when he decided he was going to time travel, quote unquote, to his time period in 2036, 35 years from that time period. Around 2003, various websites reproduced Titor's posts, rearranging them into narratives. Not all refer to the original dates posted. And the reason why he actually, it's going to talk about it. So, in his online postings, Titor claimed to be an American soldier from 2036 based in Tampa, Florida. He was assigned to a governmental time travel project and sent back to 1975 to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, which he said was needed to debug various legacy computer programs in 2036. A possible reference to the UNIX year 2038 problem. The IBM 5100 runs the APL in basic programming languages. Titor had been selected for this mission specifically given that his paternal grandfather was directly involved with the assembly and programming of the 5100. Titor claimed to be on a stopover in the year 2000 for personal reasons, to collect pictures lost in the future, Civil War, and to visit his family, of whom he spoke often. Titor also said he had been, for a few months, trying to alert anyone that would listen about the threat of the Jacob disease spread through beef products and about the possibility of civil war within the United States. When questioned about them by an online subscriber, Titor also expressed an interest in mysteries such as UFOs, which remain unexplained in his time. Titor suggested that UFOs and extraterrestrials might be travelers from much further into the future than his own time, with superior time machines. And now to describe the time machine. Titor described his time machine on several occasions in an early post. He described it as a stationary mass temporal displacement unit powered by two topspin dual positive singularities, producing a standard offset Tipler sinusoid. Sinusoid? I'm not really sure what that is. The earliest post was more explicit, saying it contained the following: two magnetic housing units for the dual micro singularities, an electron injection manifold to alter mass and gravity of the micro singularities, a cooling and X-ray venting system, gravity sensors or a variable gravity lock, four main cesium clocks, three main computer units, and well, that's about everything. So, if you ever want to make a time travel machine, that's everything that it contains. So, if you're crazy enough to do it, and if it does work, maybe report it to us. That way, we know this John Titor guy might be actually telling us the truth. So far, we have nothing. According to the Post, the device was installed in the rear of a 1967 Chevrolet Corvette convertible and later moved to a 1987 truck having four-wheel drive. Titor shared several scans of the manual of a C204 time displacement unit with diagrams and schematics and posted some photographs of the device installed in the car. Titor claimed that the Everett Wheeler model of quantum physics, better known as the many worlds interpretation, was correct. The model that every possible outcome of a quantum decision occurs in a separate universe. Titor stated that this was the reason the grandfather paradox would not happen. Following the logic of the argument, Titor would be killing a different John Titor's grandfather in a timeline other than his own. The grandfather paradox is impossible. In fact, all paradox is impossible. The Everett Wheeler-Graham or multiple world theory is correct. All possible quantum states, events, possibilities, and outcomes are real, eventual, and occurring. The chances of everything happening someplace at some time in the superverse are 100%. Now we're going to be reading some of the predictions. Although invoking the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, whereby events from his timeline may differ from our own, Titor also expressed assurance that the differences were minimal. As such, his descriptions have been interpreted as predictions and compared with historical events since 2001. The most immediate of Titor's predictions was an upcoming civil war in the United States, having to do with order and rights. He described it as beginning in 2004, with civil unrest surrounding the presidential election of that year, which that year would have been George Bush, because in 2008 Obama was elected, then re-elected, and then obviously Donald J. Trump. So, with civil unrest surrounding the presidential election of that year, I said that the civil conflict that he characterized as having a wacko type event every month that steadily gets worse would be pretty much at everyone's doorstep and erupt by 2008. As a result of the war, the United States would split into 5 regions based on various factors and differing military objectives. The Civil War, according to Titor, would end in 2015 with a brief but intense World War III, which, it doesn't say it here, but he said that when World War III would occur in 2015, that it would kill 3 billion people. So if it would have happened, just imagine our population. That would have been crazy. And it might still happen. It might happen later on. Now that Trump's elected, maybe 3 billion people would be dead, and we'll be left with a little more than half of our population. About 4.5 billion will be left. And it doesn't say which 3 billion people are going to be killed, like in which certain areas, so you never know. Titor refers to the exchange as End Day. Washington, D.C. and Jacksonville, Florida are specifically mentioned as being hit. After the war, Omaha, Nebraska would be the new U.S. capital. Titor was vague as to the exact motivations and causes for World War III. At one point, he characterized the hostilities as being led by border clashes and overpopulation. He also pointed to contemporary conflict between Arabs and Israel as not a cause, but rather a milestone that precedes a World War III. Titor claimed that as a 13-year-old in 2011, he joined the Fighting Diamondbacks, a shotgun infantry unit in Florida. For at least 4 years in other posts, he described himself as hiding from the war. Now we're going to talk about the criticism and discussion. As Titor gained significant attention, there also emerged analysis and discussion concerning the veracity of his claims about his origins, and mission, and the future events he talked about. No John Titor or Titor family is known to exist, meaning that who posted as Titor used a pseudonym. The story has been called inconsistent as contradictions between statements at different times have been observed. Holding the many worlds interpretation as correct, Titor claimed that his mission as a time traveler was to shape a timeline in which many chaotic events of his time, including World War III and the Civil War in the U.S., never happened. In some, supposed Titor's appearances in the internet and other media segments prior to his main post, notably in faxes to the radio talk show Coast to Coast AM in 1998. He stated that he was not able to change the future despite his efforts, suggesting one of the possible contradictions. Nevertheless, none of the specific events he predicted to a near future, chaotic or not, have come to happen. Some issues with the technology have also been considered. In one of Titor's pictures of a supposed time machine, a laser beam is seen allegedly being bent by gravitational distortion, but the view of nearby objects is not distorted as would be expected. Also, Titor knew about technical features of the IBM 5100 which were not available to the public at the time. Widely commented in the industry, suggesting he had some advanced understanding of the machine or computers in general. Predictive failures is what we're going to be talking about next. One of Titor's earliest assertions was that CERN would discover the basis for the time travel sometime around 2001, with the creation of miniature black holes about half a year after his departure. This did not occur. An article published around the time he had predicted about miniature black holes created by CERN, a recurring theme also ascribed to Fermilab and Brookhaven at various times, was taken by some to be evidence of this claim, but these events did not occur either. So far, none of his predictions have really been correct, but it could have been that he traveled back into 1975 to get the IBM 5100. We'll never know for sure. We don't even know if this person's real, but it's definitely interesting. Civil War did not break out after the 2004 U.S. presidential election, nor did conflicts or military involvement in 2012. World War III did not happen in 2015. Titor unambiguously claimed that the last Olympics would occur in 2004. While it is unclear if he meant the Summer or Winter Olympics, both have occurred since his time. However, because Titor asserted that the many worlds interpretation was proved correct by his time, his predictions could refer to another timeline and not ours, making them unfalsifiable. So that's a good point. That maybe in a parallel universe, all of this stuff has already happened, and you know everything about parallel universes, guys. They're real. Trust me. In fact, that might be episode 3 on our Time Travel League, is parallel universes, so we get a little more out of that and paradox. Anyways, this led to different interpretations, including that he had effectively accomplished his mission by creating another timeline, despite his supposed previous statements that it would be too difficult, or that he inadvertently traveled to a different timeline, ours, and mistook it as his own, or that all time travel is pointless if the chaotic timeline would not cease to exist. Let's talk about the story and consistency, so we can figure out a little bit more about this. There's still the technology as well, and then, maybe even some investigations. So, potential contradictions have been observed in different Titor's posts. In some of the posts, he claims that he was homeschooled, while in others, he states that his basic education was conducted in the University of Florida. Similarly, he stated that he hid himself during the Civil War in the U.S., while also stating in other instances that he fought in the war. So, this guy's... who knows if he's making sense or not. In some posts, he claims that money is widely used and people still have credit cards, despite his statement that centralized banking no longer exists. This is either an inconsistency or implies the rise of private currencies. Who knows which? Hopefully it's private currencies, because we don't want inconsistent information. We want real stuff, because it would be more interesting to have real stuff than to have fake stuff. Inconsistent. Titor's story could also have been inspired by science fiction works. The use of an automobile as a time machine, for example, had been a key plot device in the popular 1985 movie Back to the Future, and its sequels as the DeLorean sports car, among others. Additionally, commentators have pointed out similarities between the Titor story and Pat Frank's classic post-apocalyptic science fiction novel, Alas, Babylon. Among other similarities, Alas, Babylon takes place in a small riverside town in Florida just before and after a nuclear war, and describes the struggle to survive as a family in the aftermath. In the book, the protagonist lives in the fictional town of Fort Repose, while Titor claimed to live in the fort, formerly the University of Florida. The prediction of tiny black holes as a result of time travel, specifically the sending back of information, is a key plot point from the 1980 novel Thrice Upon a Time by James P. Hogan. Some suggested that yet in the summer of 1998, prior to his post, Titor sent 2 faxes to Art Bell's radio program, Coast to Coast AM, stating that Y2K is a disaster. Many people freeze to death trying to get to warmer weather. The governor tries to keep power by instituting martial law, referring to popular legends of the time about the Y2K bug, which, as we all know, everybody thought the end of the world was going to be 2000, which now we're in 2018, so obviously that 18 years ago rumor is not real. In the online story, Titor stated that a part of his mission was to prevent the coming world war by changing history. Yet some claim that during an IRC chat in October 2000, a month before he began posting, Titor was asked if the future could be changed from his predictions, and answered, "It's too late. I just wish things didn't have to happen the way they will." So before we talk about the technology and maybe some investigations on John Titor, who has tons of information about him, in which we're discussing as much as possible, what is your guys' opinion on John Titor? Do you think any of his stuff is real? So far, none of his stuff seems to have actually happened. So do you think it's inconsistent? Do you think that it might happen in the future, or it happened in a parallel universe? Comment down what you think, and let's see. Comment down, just anything about it. Also, another question: do you think that he had a lot of books about time traveling and discovery, such as Thrice Upon Thrice Upon a Time by James P. Hogan, or maybe even Alas Babylon, or even took some parts from the movie Back to the Future? Any 3 parts. What do you think, guys? Let's get to the technology part. So Titor provided an image of a detail of a supposed time machine with a laser pointer beam being bent by the gravitational field produced outside the vehicle by the distortion unit. The beam being bent reveals an inconsistency of objects near the beam not appearing to be bent as well. So yet again, another inconsistency. So far everything is just, there's nothing there yet. Maybe we'll find something though. The framing of the window visible in the background, for instance, should appear distorted in proximity to a large gravity gradient, but it does not. Some have speculated the beam is an optical fiber. Titor claimed that he was sent back to obtain an IBM 5100 because it could translate several types of computer code. Interesting. According to IBM engineer Bob Dupk, Titor's statements regarding the IBM 5100's little-known ability to emulate and debug mainframe systems were correct. Supporters state that this information was not publicly available in 2000 or 2001, when Titor made his declaration, and Titor himself stated that this feature was discovered as late as 2036, when UNIX is the underlying source behind all computer operating systems still running local infrastructures and other computational tasks, was only 2 years away from no longer functioning due to 32-bit integer limitations. However, this emulation capability was widely known in the industry and commented on in depth in numerous publications dealing with both the 5100 and programmable microcode in general. References as to this were also available on the internet as early as 1999, and therefore predated Titor's postings. Alright guys, so let's get to the investigations. An Italian television program, Voyager ai confini della conoscenza, aired the results of an investigation of John Titor on May 19, 2008. Private investigator Mike Lynch found no registry evidence, past or present, of any individual named John Titor. He did, however, identify the John Titor Foundation, a for-profit company formed on September 16, 2003, with no office or address other than a rented postbox in Kissimmee, Florida. An IP address connected with Titor also geolocated to Kissimmee. In 2009, a report by John Houston of the Hoax Hunter website named Larry Haber, a Florida entertainment lawyer, as the CEO of the foundation. Lynch concluded that Haber and his brother, Maury Haber, a computer scientist, were very likely the men behind John Titor, whom they actually introduced in 1998, accompanied by different predictions, including chaos due to the Y2K bug. John Houston also reported that John Titor is a registered trademark with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. So, that is basically about it. That covers about everything on John Titor's parts, everything that he talked about and everything. I might make a separate video talking about the IBM 5100 so we can get a better visual on it. We know it's a portable computer. We know it can translate lots of computer codes, but we didn't know that much other than that, because that was made 43 years ago. So thank you guys for listening to this discussion and this informative video on John Titor, which is our second time traveler, our second episode on time travelers. There will probably be two more because there are at least two other time travelers. One of which I might do next. He actually is going to run for president 2020. So, any of you guys who are voting, any of you guys who are voting in 2020, if you want to vote for a time traveler, you may. It seems kind of, I don't know. It doesn't seem that smart, but then again, if he's as smart as he is, maybe he'll show us something in the future that leads us to believe in everything. Who knows? I'm considering about voting for him since by then I'll be able to vote. I'm considering on voting for him specifically because I'm hoping that he leaks out some information, on time travel. He probably won't give everything though, because if it's anything like the JFK files, they'll give away only the stuff that they think is going to be enough, and then they're gonna keep the more important stuff. And I don't know. I don't know for sure, but thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you in another video. So later, guys.